Plenty of new regulation for this nation this holiday season. The White House is planning almost 3,500 new rules, including some controversial food labels that were announced today. Establishments selling prepared foods in 20 or more locations must post the calorie content on their menus. Tonight, correspondent Shannon Bream reports on, depending your point of view, a new wave of federal intrusion or protection.
I think the regulatory environment in this country is the #1 competitive threat for American businesses in a very, very competitive global economy.
And they should brace for even more. The administration has issued its newest list of planned federal regulations, behind schedule and on the Friday before a holiday. And there are more than 3,000 potential new rules to decipher. Proposals in the regulatory pipeline include an Obamacare-linked measure that would require nutrition labeling on food sold at sporting venues, bowling alleys, and on vending machines, and an EPA water regulation proposal that would give it increased control over your private land. Nearly 200 of the regulations proposed this year are estimated to come with a bill of more than $100 million in annual impacts each.
The average compliance costs for a manufacturer is about $20,000 per employee per year. If you're a small manufacturer, that cost goes up to $35,000 per employee per year.
Costs that are passed on to consumers at a rate of $15,000 per household every year. George Washington University law professor Jonathan Turley testified before Congress about the unconstitutional rise of regulatory power, calling federal agencies a fourth federal branch the founders never intended.
The center of gravity is shifting, and that makes it unstable.
When I asked the administration earlier this year about the ongoing deluge of regulatory activity, Emily Kane of the Office of Management and Budget told me, quote, "The administration is committed to a regulatory strategy that maintains a balance between protecting the health, welfare, and safety of Americans and promoting economic growth, job creation, competitiveness, and innovation."
There was a lot of talk about Obama not exercising leadership and not having a vision, so he is now putting forward a very strong vision.
Critics say Congress isn't without blame, noting that lawmakers have abdicated a great deal of their responsibility to federal bureaucrats, unelected employees given the task of issuing the rules for how laws are to be implemented. In 2013, just 72 bills were signed into law, but federal agencies issued nearly 3,700 regulations. Brett.
Shannon, thank you. The U.S. economy grew at 3.9%. At a 3.9% rate in the third quarter. That's an upgrade from the initial 3.5% estimate. Stocks were mixed today. The Dow lost 3, the S&P 500 was off 2, the Nasdaq gained 3. Michelle Flournoy, one of the people considered a potential replacement for outgoing Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel, has removed her name from consideration. Flournoy is a former Undersecretary of Defense for Policy from 2009 to 2012. She now directs the Center for a New American Security. Names now being floated as possible nominees: current White House Chief of Staff Dennis McDonough, former Deputy Defense Secretary Ash Carter, and a name that just surfaced today, former Secretary of State and Joint Chiefs Chairman Colin Powell. When we come back, the Obamacare architect who thinks you're stupid is really smarting from all that publicity.